Hello, it's Jane from Love Your Lens here, and in this video I'm looking back at some of the images that were submitted for our August photography theme of repetition. Now, before we go on to look at the shortlist of images, I would like to just spend a few moments looking at how does repetition work in photography. As humans, we tend to be drawn to things that are recognisable, and we tend to like harmony in the world around us and in photographs. We like to be able to detect a pattern or an order to things. It feels calming rather than chaotic. So if you've got repetition of shapes, colours, lines and textures, that creates a pattern, and patterns draw the eye, and we find that quite pleasing. However, too much repetition can be boring and feel too safe. So how you use repetition in your photographs is important too. You could choose to purposely break the pattern and cause a little disruption by having an odd one out that attracts the eye. That becomes then your main focal point. So for example, a red apple in a crate of green apples, or a person who's wearing a red amongst rows of people wearing black. Your eye will immediately go to that one person that looks different, that is breaking the repetition or the pattern. So then, how do you really draw the eye and make the most of the repeating element that you've got in your photograph? Do you fill the frame with it, like I've done here with these spice tins, or do you leave a lot of negative space around it? As usual, when I was looking through the images, I was looking for the image or the subject to be in focus and well exposed and obvious. I didn't want to be able to have to hunt around the image to find the subject and try and work out what the photographer was trying to say to me. The composition should immediately make clear what the photographer was wanting to convey. And even better, is there a wow factor? Does the image stop you in your tracks, and is there an emotional reaction or connection when you look at the shot? Okay, and now we'll take a look at all the shots that made the final list. As usual, we had a lot of very strong shots submitted, and it's always very difficult to pick out a favourite. I mean, this shot from Alan Hewitt has all of the ingredients of a lovely landscape shot. As ever, Alan doesn't fail to deliver really high quality, stunning colours and a very interesting subject. So he's got great foreground interest, he's got the middle ground interest and the background interest. There's nothing in that shot that shouldn't be there. And that's one of the things I'm always trying to convey to people, that look all around your frame and see if there's anything distracting that actually you don't want to be in it, and could you get rid of that by moving, changing your angle, zooming in, etc. And there isn't anything in this shot that doesn't work really. The repetition is obviously of the bridge arches, and the detail in it is wonderful. Thank you, Alan. Then next we have this image by Chris Key. I really liked this image. I thought it was very unusual. A slightly different interpretation of repetition, in a way, a bit of a broad interpretation, but I really liked it. The birds are more or less flying all in the same direction, and it's got feels like it's been shot with a really wide angle lens. You can kind of feel that it's almost going fisheye, and it was just a really clever shot, well exposed, well shot, and a clever interpretation of the theme. So thanks there, Chris. Another way that we can have repetition in a shot is repeating shadows, which is exactly what Darren Lloyd has done here. Very simple, very few elements in this shot, and that's another thing that I've been talking to people about lately, is how to work on your composition by perhaps simplifying things, not having too many elements in a shot, because then they've all got to be in the right place. So something like this, kind of less is more shot, can be much more powerful than one where there is a lot going on in the shot. So really like the concept here, Chris, and how striking and simple it is. I think I might have said Chris on that previous shot. I meant to say Darren. Sorry, Darren. Okay, then we've got this lovely shot of some Art Deco doors, an Art Deco building by Jill Park. Lots and lots of repetition going on here. Filling the frame with it, which is something that I talked about at the beginning. Very, very obvious what the subject is. The colour palette is lovely. It's all kind of browns and ambers. And it's really nice. I would have in some ways liked to have been able to remove the little sign there, Jill, but I know that would have been either very cheeky or not even allowed. So well done for that. It's a good spot and a nice capture. Quite an abstract shot here from Catherine Roberts, curves of metal, not quite sure what from. I like the fact that you've done it on a diagonal. The repeating curves are very pleasing, and I like it in black and white. I just didn't feel like it was perhaps strong enough. There wasn't a strong enough kind of connection to the viewer, but a good spot nonetheless, Catherine. And then another one from Catherine Roberts, quite a popular shot, this one, as in the reaction to it. So all those repeating trolleys kind of speaks of the times that we're in at the moment as well, the amount of times that, you know, we're at the supermarket looking at all the trolleys and wondering who's been touching them all, how contaminated they are. But I think just you know, going out in your everyday life, you know, people who say sometimes they haven't got enough time to do the challenges, this is just evidence that you can see shots everywhere in your everyday life and routine, and you know, you've got your phone with you, and you can always take interesting shots and keep practicing and exercising that creative muscle, your creative eye. Thank you, Catherine. Then there's this lovely shot by Lindsay Rustage. I mean, the pattern here is created both by the diagonal lines of the coins pressed into the bark, and by the repeating circles of the coins, and then by the repeating colours in it. So there's several layers of repetition going on here, and I found it a very unusual subject and very pleasing. So yeah, really nice spot there, Lindsay. And another great shot here by Lindsay, a creepy crawly this time with a very distinct repetitious pattern on it. I mean, I think nature is amazing at how it does have these repeating patterns on lots of its creatures. And really like this Lindsay, sorry, I don't know what it is with me and names today. The only thing was, I felt it wasn't quite in focus in perhaps the right place. I think it's in focus more towards the kind of back end of the sort of the back third of this caterpillar, and I feel like it should have been in focus more sort of as it tips over the edge and goes down over this piece of wood, block of wood. I also feel like perhaps cropping off that dark shadow on the right hand side would have improved it. And perhaps that bit of pale orange beigey bit of ground as well, and then you'd have had a very striking shot of just the caterpillar against the grain of the wood. But nice capture, Lindsay. A great idea from Linos here, all these repeating cans. Now, one of the thoughts that I had here was this could have been one of the examples where you could disrupt the pattern by either turning one of the cans around so that its ring pull was in a different direction, or even by opening one of the cans so that it became the clear subject. So a strong pattern with a disrupting element might have just pushed that shot on just a tiny bit, but love the abstract nature of it, the fact that it's instantly recognizable, we all know what it is, and that it's so strong in black and white. There's something very pleasing and also quite clever about this shot of these birds in a curving line. Your eye starts at the front bird and follows through to the back, so there's a good kind of composition and leading line in it. I like the way that the sun is just catching the birds as well, so the light is good. The only thing I deliberated over was it feels as if really your eye keeps going back to the chick about a third of the way down the shot, and I wondered what it would have been like for that chick and perhaps a few of the birds around it to have been in focus rather than the one at the front. So just a quick question there, Nicola, and just a bit of food for thought on that shot. Great repeating patterns in nature again. I guess this is a form of sedum or something. I should probably never ever try and name plants or animals because I always get it vastly wrong. But I find all the different textures and whorls and spikes and everything very pleasing, very intriguing and interesting in this shot. I like the cobwebs across it, and I like the fact that you've filled the frame with it and converted it into black and white, Nicole. Lovely shot, Ray. Really like the sense of space in it. The colours are really pleasing as well. Some of those sort of most pleasing combinations of colours in nature, those sort of warm oranges and then that lovely expanse of blue, and of course the repetition of the wind farm, which some people find ugly and protest about, etc. Personally, I find them quite beautiful. Kind of works of art, and don't mind seeing them on the horizon. And I guess it's that kind of personal feeling that would make people kind of be drawn to certain pictures or not. I don't know whether this was a phone picture, but it seems a little bit kind of not quite crisp and clear, and there are a few little kind of I don't know, artifacts or marks on it that perhaps would look better if they'd been removed. But overall, a good shot, Ray. This is a really intriguing shot from Sheena Hatton. It's some kind of moth from memory. When you first look at it, you're drawn instantly to those antennae that look like gold quills, you know, old pens, ink pens, don't they? And then you kind of spot the eyes, and then you kind of work out from the body, the foreground, that it probably is a moth of some sort. I think it's spoiled a little bit by not having those antennae completely sharp. It perhaps is a heavy crop, I'm not sure, Sheena, which is perhaps affecting the quality of it. The colours are amazing. Colours are absolutely fantastic. So you know, a really interesting shot, but just not quite there for me because of the focus on or lack of focus on those antennae. And then just that there's a flare of light on the right at the top in the white, sort of whitish grey area that would look better if it was edited out. But very intriguing subject. Hopefully you'll get a chance to photograph it again. Similar shot to one we saw earlier, I think from Darren, this time again by Sheena. Lots of repeating lines in this old wooden boardwalk or whatever it is, and quite a simple story really. We know it's summer. We know it looks like a young person, you know, a young child walking along this boardwalk towards us. So that's enough of a kind of a story for us to latch onto and to know what's going on. And I like it in black and white, so the textures are quite nice. But again, I guess when we're looking at shots like this, and I could have made this comment on various others, so don't feel picked on, Sheena, but it hasn't quite got that wow or emotional connection that would really elevate it up there into one that stops you in your tracks. And you know, of course, not every shot is going to be able to do that. I mean, if every shot we stopped people in their tracks, then we probably all, you know, stop doing whatever else it is we do for a living and just become a top photographer. So I hope you all know what I mean by that. This is kind of a bit of a classic shot, really, isn't it? We've all seen rows of sunbeds taken from on high, but I did really like this, Tim. I like the very, very orderly lines, aren't they? Meticulously arranged. I think the other thing that struck me was, again, we tend to interpret things because of what we're going through at the time, the experiences that we're having, and these sunbeds, they could well be empty because of the time of day or something. But we feel as if they're empty because nobody's there. You know, nobody's going on holiday. Nobody wants to be that close to others in these socially distanced times. That was my take on it. So it kind of felt like a picture of its time. Felt as if you could have cropped it over on the right hand side. So we've got a brown post. If you cropped it just to the left of that, and then I think it would have got rid of a bit of that roof in the bottom right hand corner as well. But interesting shot. Pause for thought there, Tim. I'm not sure why this shot wasn't with your other ones, Sheena. I think I've just jumped the order around in the presentation. But this, to me, is one of those shots that it's clever. I really like it, actually. Simplicity. There's only, there's only the subject there, and a very clear background. The light is really, really nice. The textures are fantastic. There is a pattern there, even though each one is, laid the other way up on above the one below it. waffle. But there is an order to it, and there's an interest to it, and we know immediately what we're looking at. And it's a very, very interesting subject with the textures on the fish, the shine, nice light, and really well done in black and white. Love it. Great food photograph, Sheena. Not that I'm a fan of food photography or anything, and maybe slightly biased. Hopefully not. Again, a clever concept, perhaps on two levels. We've got a repeating pattern here, and also, as Val correctly says, knitting is full of repetition, knit one, purl one, or whatever it is. You're repeating the pattern constantly, and it makes a great subject. Putting it into black and white really emphasizes the texture and the patterns in the picture, and the light on it. I really like the light, how it's kind of it's giving it quite an undulating feel, isn't it? It certainly doesn't feel flat. You imagine that piece of knitting pulled out flat, it would have somehow taken away from it, but the fact that it's kind of in a wave, if you like, sort of undulating up and down, I think adds to it, and filling the frame with it, really making your eye concentrate on those patterns and turning it into black and white. So simple but very effective, Val. So finally on to my favourite for this month. My favourite because I think it's very clever on a couple of different levels again. Obviously the pylon itself is full of repeating lines and shapes. Every single picture is slightly different to the other. And I just think the way that you have then put them together in this very pleasing grid of repeating pictures of pylons is fantastic. I think it's really helped also by the fact that the pylons in each case are silhouettes, and you've got this perfect background behind of blue sky, fluffy white clouds and good light. So yeah, well deserved, Chris. There could have been lots of other winners this month. I'm sure you'll all individually have your favourites, but in my mind it's kind of it's fun. That's what it's all about, really, us all being able to have different favourites. For me, this really struck a chord. So thank you very much, Chris. Thank you everybody that has submitted images this time, and I've just posted the theme for October, which is backlight, which should give us some really interesting shots, and my next big job will be to look at all your superb images for end of summer and try and get them shortlisted and posted before we're fully into winter. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and continue to post these great images and support each other. Brilliant. Thank you very much.